I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, May the 1st. Hooray, hooray, the 1st of May. My old boss used to have a saying that I enjoyed that went along with that, but as we get into the 1st of May, we're once again reminded how disconnected the board is with the cash market. We all kind of know that. We know that so much of it has to do with the technical part of it and not so much the fundamental of it. But on days like Monday, when we come off of a week where your fat cattle traded late Friday, mostly after the board had closed, and at sharply higher than anybody thought that it was going to be all week, and we had high prices for feeder cattle and really good, outstanding demand for feeder cattle of all classes, all late on Friday, all through the weekend, and then we come in on a Monday when the board's down. And it just makes everybody in the industry kind of shake their head. But June live cattle futures ended up down 90 cents at 106.10, and that's going to be our spot now. That's our spot futures is 106.10 when our practical top in the Northern Plains is 126, and in the Southern Plains it's 124. So we're 20 bucks under the practical top, and that's where we're at on our spot market. And it's really kind of ridiculous that we're that far out. But you look at your April, which went off the board on Monday at 123.75, which is 2 pennies from the weighted average price for last week's trade. So that market is going to come together, but it can just run so fast when it scrambles at the end of the month, so that when it matures that it gets tightened back up. And I promise you, at the end of June, that June live cattle contract will be closed up tight with whatever your cash trade is too. It's just whether or not we're going to fall that much on the cash side or whether it's going to gain, but I think it's probably going to be a combination of both. But as we see that we're now in that June live cattle spot market, probably from the rest of the week now and on here through the most of May, most of your traders and guys in Chicago and a lot of your speculators, they couldn't tell you within $15 a hundred what your cash fat cattle market is, nor do they really care. They're just looking at squiggly lines on a graph, and they'll play it anyway. But look at that disparage between your first two traded months on the last day of your April being listed on there at $17.65 between the first two traded months, and that is just it's hard to believe. But August feeder cattle down 205. Oh, why would it be down 205? Everybody's still wanting to buy feeder cattle. But 146.20. May down 185 at 140.17. Your weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade on a great movement of 125,800 head in your 5-area feeding region. We normally see big movements this time of year, but there was a lot of cattle delivered last week that had been purchased just 2 to 4 weeks ahead of that. And so those cattle were coming in, and we know that there's a lot of cattle coming down the pike, and I think that's been over exaggerated. But on your live steers, your weighted average price in your 5-area feeding region was 123.73, and that was $2.02 higher than the weighted average from the previous week. Like I said, your practical top in the Northern Plains 126, Southern Plains 124. Your dressed steer weighted average in the 5 areas 196.21, up $4.37 from the weighted average of the previous week, and your practical top on your dress steers 199. But I had a good friend of mine, Jesse Larios, in Southern California, runs a feedlot down there, and really up on the industry and the thinking the right way and becoming fairly active in NCBA and a lot of other programs, and locally just a really good guy there at Foster Feed Yard in Southern California, and was sending me a message, you know, why isn't everyone selling 2 to 4 weeks out and then go ahead and get out of their hedge? Because I don't think everyone thinks that this wall of cattle is coming. You know, everybody I talked to could sell cattle 2 to 4 weeks out at 121. I know the market's 124 and 126, but we saw some big strings sell the last couple of weeks at 121 for May delivery. You could probably still get that. You may can even get that further out than that. Why wouldn't everyone do that and put that huge basis in their pocket? That'd be the best closeout they've had in forever. The reason they're not doing it because they don't really think that this wall of cattle is coming. And you know, as much as it's been advertised and coming out, you know, we're still gaining ground. It just looks like somebody, you know, surfing right into a big wave and coming out the other side and busting through it. And it looks like that's what we may do. And if it does, you better get on that June live cattle and ride it up. I know it might be against a lot of guys' religion to go long a contract, but I tell you what, it looks like it's got some room to grow. But I was in Oklahoma City at the Oklahoma National Stockyards on Monday. It's always fun to go to the nation's feeder cattle market, and you know, you can argue whether it's the world's largest. It's still tagged the world's largest, but that is the nation's feeder cattle market early in the week. I will guarantee you that, and it was fun to be there, and it looks like we're going to start pulling data from the stockyards, just from National Commission Firm, but we invite all the other commission firms to join in. It doesn't cost you a penny, and we're not going to hurt you a bit. We just want to promote your sales, and National Commission Firm is ready to do that, and so we will shortly be pulling data from Oklahoma National Stockyards, and it will be available in Cattle Market Central, where you can query that data and you can put reports together. That data going in there is going to make your real-time index even more accurate than it already is, and it's an awful good number there for those of you that kind of track the CME feeder cattle index and how it relates to the board. But your real-time index closed out late Monday at 139.42, actually up 80 cents compared to where it closed at the end of the week last week, with a lot of help from Russell, Iowa. We'll talk about that in a minute. But at the Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City, 11,500 head on offer there, a big sale, and it's good to see them get a big run like that. That's like some of the big runs that we were used to them having, but they've kind of had a slow spring there. But feeder cattle selling mostly steady to $3 higher. Calves in a much lighter test, $1 to $3 higher, and was there, and got some pictures there at the newly remodeled here just a few years ago when they had the World Champion Livestock Auctioneer contest there. But a very comfortable place to sit and bid on cattle, and was able to meet up with some guys there that enjoy watching the feeder flash every day, and it's always good to meet people like that. But the National Commission Firm will be having their sales on our system and available here for me to talk about every week very shortly. And got Jim Reynolds there in the ring, and he's been around a long time, from back in the days where he was at my old stomping grounds in St. Joe, Missouri at the St. Joe Stockyards. But I guarantee you he knows what's going on. But at some of National sales that they had there on Monday, they had 58 head of 732-pound steers that could still go to grass. They got some weight to them, but the flesh condition, the weigh up that they had in there, just the overall condition was more of a stocker type condition than a feeder condition, and you could put some cheap weight on those cattle pretty fast turning them out. Weighed 732 at 150 and a half. The lighter end of them weighed in the low sixes and brought 174. So not just all commodity cattle at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. They can get the big stick out prices sometimes too. Joplin Regional Stockyards had 6,900 head there, and a similar trend for them, steady to $3 higher. Told you I was going to talk about Russell, Iowa. Russell Livestock Market, Russell, Iowa is not just a here and there sale. It is a major Midwestern livestock auction market. 5,000 head on offer on Monday, and then they're holding the market up on your averages on a Monday, and they're one of the few big sales up in the Northern Plains early in the week. and up in the northern upper Midwest. But 5,000 head at Russell. Their trend from 2 weeks ago was mostly higher, but they did note, the market reporter there, that 5 to 650 pound cattle were quite a bit lower, quoted them $6 to $9 lower. But there's a lot of things that go into that. There are more calves. More of them are calves. More of them are unweaned and short weaned than they were 2 weeks ago, when they still had a lot of those hard wintered stocker type cattle. So that's what's responsible for most of that. But look at these strings that come out of Russell, Iowa on Monday that we pulled out of Cattle Market Central there. Just load after load after load. And you see it on the screen there. Included in that is a load of 865 pound steers, 138.75, and a load of 704 pound steers at 157. And you think, well, those are impressive prices, but that is in the Midwest there, where they've got the cheap corn and the farmer feeders with the lots. Well, how about Bluegrass Stockyards South in Stanford, Kentucky? Sold 63 head of 853 pound steers at 137. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.